All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Final Fantasy TCG podcast here at TCGU headquarters. I am Travis, your grateful host, and this is...
Hey, yo, what's up, guys? It's Noah.
And this is...
Sup, homies? It's Zeth back again.
Yep, so we have a bunch of stuff to discuss today, but before that, we got to do some housekeeping. You can support the show by liking us at Facebook, subbing at youtube.com/TCGUniversity, enrolling at patreon.com/TCGUniversity, where you can subscribe at the $1 level to get a bunch of exclusive cool content, and check us out on our podcast on SoundCloud and other various media streaming platforms. Now it's time to do some shout-outs to all of our wonderful Patreons. We have Addie, Andrew Dang, Anthony Albano, Bryce Rathsack, Chris Miner, Clay Cardwell, Jason Arshin Massur, Jacob, Jay Rogers, Jarrett Hubbard, Jesse Morrison, John Stone, Justin Farce, Justin Hobbs, Kat Maria?
Yep.
Kevin Broberg, Kieran Vision, Lucinda Letica, Okami Law, Orlando Valdez Santos, Paul Casagrande, Peyton Kiker, Ransom McArthur. Sorry about that one. Samantha Stevens, the baddest bitch around, and Sean O'Brien. Also, Theodore Ruiz and Tyler Zane Pease. Thank you, and we are very grateful. Also to our sponsors, Nuclear Ink Custom Tattoos and Skate Shop, Cards Custom Build, Ink Gaming, and Dex Protection. And then also, this month, if you get $30 level on Patreon, you get a very cool lanyard with our logo and stuff on it. Yep. It'll be up on screen.
Thanks, Tam.
Thank you.
Thanks, homie.
So how was our week, boyos? I personally went to Final Fantasy on Friday.
Yep.
And I believe I got third. Mm-hmm. I know you both were also there. So how did that go?
I did terrible. I played a puck deck with Golbez and all the cool 1-2 drops that you would 2 drops at least you want to put with Golbez. Puck and the 1 drops is pretty cool. I did get to abuse that with Mione. That was fun.
Yeah.
But I did garbage because I played against control decks that just say I'm going to wait to kill your Golbez until I can kill your board as well.
Yeah, so like the context of that is like our meta has a lot of like slower control decks, and so the puck list he was playing wasn't exactly like geared to deal with a deck that would just hard control you and sit there and never actually attack you, because puck obviously needs damage in order to go off or to be the most efficient. So if I were to fix the deck, I would probably add some self-damaging options, such as maybe like the Light Fusoya or the 2-drop... God, what's his name?
Yeah, you got this. Come on, I believe in you,
the
baby.
2-drop Dataluma.
There you go.
Yeah.
Dataluma?
Yeah, because it is another good target to hit off of Golbez when you don't want to damage yourself, and when you do want to damage yourself for puck, it's just a 2-drop.
Have you ever considered Kuja?
That would also work, because we are mainly lightning.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, being able to smother a guy 3 or less, and you only take a point of damage for it, and if it hits one of our EX searchers, that's not too bad.
yeah, for sure.
Also, I think it's one of the first times I've had to deal with 4 colors at a consistent basis besides my all forwards deck, and that was terrible.
Yeah.
Who was that?
For the Golbez.
Oh, it was
because
Golbez.
he played all 4 colors.
Yeah, it was
all 4
gotcha.
elements, main elements.
Oh, okay, so you're dealing with a multi-splash Golbez deck. Then.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now I'm
I was
following
was super like
It played a few
nice.
It played
I
like
need-
11 backups, I think.
It was like 8. Or
No,
9.
no, it was 11.
it was 11?
It was definitely 11.
Mhm.
I remember because I built the list.
Okay.
And it was definitely, I was watching a few of your games because my games finished relatively quick, except for my round 2 I had against Shane. Shout outs to him. Which went pretty long. But for the most part, it seemed like you were just, it was like a combination of, at sometimes you were kind of bricking, other times your opponent just wasn't attacking you at all and was just sitting there.
Fun.
It's like, which, you know, it happens. like some of the best decks in the format right now are hard control decks. So
which is why we're moving to Puck Ninjas.
Yep.
As soon as I figure out how to get this 6 deck working as well.
Right.
I'll get there.
Okay.
but yeah,
So you mentioned you got third.
yes, I got third piloting a budget-ish Rampier list, which goes to show that Rampier is not a balanced card because I was playing compared to the like typical maybe $250, $300 plus Rampier list. I was playing something that was maybe $80 and was mostly like starter deck stuff. I think the most expensive card in the deck was either a Veritas or a Sephiroth, which I was both playing as one of because I didn't have my other 2 Sephiroths for the playset.
Okay.
Because I think they were in another deck.
Are you talking about 7 Seth?
Yeah, 7
Okay.
CP Sephiroth.
Gotcha. All right.
Yep. Because
Yes,
he's.
yes, it was in another deck. I didn't know why you didn't take him.
I mean, I didn't need to play more than one to be honest.
That's fair.
Because in my current evolution, the full non-budget version, I play 1 copy of the 7 CP Sephiroth and 1 copy of the newest 4 CP Dark Sephiroth because I can just special one for the other if I have to, and I have a lot of recursion, so it doesn't really matter if I only play one of each. So.
Gotcha. Now, did you go the Kusith route with recursion, or did you went with Puma?
I went with Puma.
Okay.
I like Kusith, but I like it less when we're playing Fusoya, and it's really bad to hit off Fusoya because it's a 2, and it's like sometimes like I know in my game against Shane, he almost actually lost because he revealed a 3 and a 4 when he was trying to kill my 4 CP Wool, the Earth one. So it only did 7 instead of dealing 8, and that almost actually lost him the game.
And that right there is why I don't ever play Fusoya. I do not like playing high roll cards that leave me 1k damage short.
Yeah. So
That
like
feels bad.
my only caveat to that is like the way most Rampier lists are built, you play maybe like 6 or 7 2-drops, and you normally search them or see them at the beginning of the game. So when you play your Fusoyas later on, they are hitting for
So you
like
basically
12k.
rip them out.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically. So you thin your deck enough so your Fusoya is hitting at least 98% of the time.
Gotcha. So, shock and awe, I played Marshreets.
No way.
I'm 4-0 right now with it. I decided to kind of go to like a different change of pace by playing Mono Wind, just so that way I can kind of increase my game sense to actually being able to play in that matchup as well. Because Mono Wind does still see play even out just kind of like YRP. It's been a deck since like Opus 1 to a degree, and then it got really good around like Opus 6, 7, and 8 when Yuri and Shalinka got introduced.
Yo.
And that's what really helped take that deck off. And so getting first with Marshreets, like the deck is so wild because being able to generate so much advantage off of activating my backups and then throwing Ifrit out at whatever they try to put out to stop Marsh or to stop Reets, or worst case scenario, just building another backup off of the 3 I've generated, that's another search.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of just free advantage the deck generates itself just off of Reets. And I almost lost my match against Mono Fire because I keep forgetting Reets just kind of sits on her hands when Homeboy Marsh isn't around. But my opponent that I was playing actually forgot that he was able to kill Marsh with the Ifrit that he had in his hand.
Yup.
So I kind of pseudo-sneaked the last point of damage in through mind games, and we both realized it after the fact. And you even helped point it out after the fact. And it's like,
You
the
immediately
the
after the
mind
game
game.
ended, Travis went, "Yeah, you could have killed that Marsh." I was like, "Damn."
Yeah, so
No waiting.
A lot of the time when I'm watching games, especially for people that like are on the team or people I'm close with, I'm looking at the line they're taking and the line they're thinking about taking, which obviously I can't know what they're fully thinking and
Right.
like what a line they're about to take, but I think to myself, what line would I take here? Because obviously it's a lot easier to think of lines when you're on the outside looking
and
in.
not in the seat.
Yeah, but like there are a lot of like obvious lines that you can see even when you're sitting outside when you're in the spectator seat, quote unquote. And that was like one of the things to me where I was like, oh well, if he does this, then he can kill the Reeds before, or he can kill the Marsh before the Reeds gains haste. which means that he won't be able to attack, and he might be able to kill him on the backswing next turn. So that's like my thing about it.
Yep. And the other reason I kind of like the Marsh Reeds build that I'm playing right now, which actually kind of because I was really hesitant to play the deck at first because Tyro's in the deck, and my big problem with Tyro is I'm going to play him and search a forward. Cool. I break you with Hecatoncheir or Mandragora. All right, now I can't play the forward that I just searched.
Yeah.
That feels really bad. But thankfully for right now, the meta, at least in our local play group, hasn't started playing Mandragora or Hecatoncheir, or I haven't seen enough Garlands to really be of concern for it. And the fact that he's EX'd me a few games, I've already started to realize why the deck plays 3 of them.
Yeah.
Because A, being able to find it is pretty good. B, grabbing any forward I want off it is pretty good.
Yeah.
And I've actually won a game, not last week, but the week before that, off of Tyro's 5 damage.
Yeah.
So the card's really good. People should start running back row hit destruction.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Like when I look at that card basically does everything. It's got a relevant on-playability, a relevant EX burst, a relevant ability as you scale into the late game in the damage 5.
Right.
And it's like relatively low cost for what it does. Because like
5 for any forwards.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 1 more above Gabby.
Yeah.
Well, Gabranth, I should say.
Yep.
Clarification.
Yeah, 1 above the 4 CP Earth Gabranth that searches of 5 cost or more on EX burst or on play.
And then it lets you search any forward.
Yeah. It's good. That card's really, really good. I know for sure I'm playing it as at least a 1 of in my Rampier list because it's really good on play, and if I ever hit it on EX burst, it's not like too big of a loss.
Right.
It at least got me a forward that I needed, so.
Absolutely.
What was the forward? No, I'm just kidding. Don't worry about it.
Anyways, were you going to say something, Noah?
Yeah, you were talking about back row destruction.
Yeah.
It's a backup. Is it Doga?
The 5 CP Doga?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
one that
on
says
summon cast?
It's on summon cast, kill backup of
Yep.
what?
If it's a 4 cost or greater, you can break any backup of 3 cost or greater.
Yeah.
So whenever you cast, like let's say Alexander, right? Mm-hmm. You then get to Hecatoncheir or something.
Yeah.
In addition to
So you get 2 backups per
right
for 1
the
or
big
for 4.
the big issue playing Doga though is that you are dedicating yourself to Doga. You are marrying yourself to the idea on getting Doga out at a reasonable time and actually be able to pull that because you got to have some kind of recursion loop to make Doga good.
Yeah.
Water Earth.
It's either like
So I'm not saying that's the best option, but when you think about it, Zidane will draw you the cards you need, more than likely. So you'll have enough to pay for Doga, and then you can slap him down, and Porum's gonna end up recurring like Fanfrit or whatever. So you can just cast Fanfrit, kill their board, and also Doga will start hitting the back row.
Okay, now here comes my next most important question: how do we kill them?
So, I was going to say, I think there are 3 routes that you can go with if you're trying to play Doga. I think one of them is Wind Earth, because you play stuff like Diabolos and you play Alexander, and you get to play Mione, which can bounce Aido Maruhido, I believe is the card.
Aido Maruhido,
Yep.
From Final Fantasy 11, lets you grab 2 summons, or he free plays a summon when you play him, and he's category 11. There was a deck that it still sees some play, that it's Earth Wind 11. You play Semlevi, which makes the Star Sybil 3, and then Star Sybil can find any of your other back row that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And you're also able to find the 2-drop Moogle that lets you search for any card for discarding as a special.
Yeah.
And the way that the deck went, at least the version I was playing it when I was first getting into this game, is that you did Citra 5-cost Valifor loops. You returned all their forwards back to their hand. You returned Citra back to your hand. And then you broke one of their backups. The issue I see with the deck now is Kadaj exists.
Yeah.
So he's going to be eating your Valifors. He's going to be eating your Citras. So that's the issue there. The way that I really like Doga now is there was a Marsh Reeds list that when it was originally in conception, it played 1 Doga. You did Porum Phoenix loops. So you play your Phoenix.
Oh, yeah, because Phoenix is a 4 cost or more.
Yep, breaks it. And then when Porum dies, you grab it and you can Phoenix again. You have a nice pseudo loop.
Yep.
That lets you hit those things. It lets you hit, your backups that you want to hit, like the 6-drop one, the Vermilion Lassie in Mono Fire. lets you hit Saz, lets you hit Moody.
Yeah.
And you're able to just kind of start picking your targets off from there if you wanted to go the Doga route with it.
Yep. Honestly, that seems like a better one of in like those kind of lists, like the Marsh Reeslets that are splashing Earth or playing Earth, just because backups are usually a bit more recurable than like something like Hecaton Share, especially under Earth and Fire for the most part. Like you have Terra, you have Citra, but that's about it compared to like you can just grab any character with a lot of Earth stuff. Like you have the 6 CP backup.
Minfilia.
You have Minfilia. You also have the other one that gets -1 for each backup you already have. Yep. That card's really cool. Those both grab you any character. You can also go the route of Luminous Puma if you want to do that. And that also picks up backups. Basically, there are just a lot of ways to get Doga back if you like end up discarding him or whatever. And he's also not like a very enticing pick for Kadaj removal because normally they want to pick something that's a lot more central to your strategy. So you can feel a bit more comfortable discarding him early in the game just to pick him up later if you need to.
Right.
So.
Okay.
All right. Anyways, I would like to get into our first topic, which is, I believe, we were trying to sell each other on a bad card that we think is good.
I didn't know if we were doing that last or if we were going to continue with the tier list from.
We can do either. That's fine. We can do the tier list. So
because we were on the tier list, so I assumed it's just a better segue into that.
So
sorry guys, I didn't mean to mess it all up.
No, you're good. So last week we started discussing a tier list at the end of the podcast in the post show, and we had to cut it a bit short because it was getting very late. But now we'd like to discuss the rest of that tier list. I believe we were about to start C tier when we stopped.
Right. So just to kind of catch us all up, I went on to MogPod Gaming, fantastic resource, by the way.
Yep.
That's where I get a lot of my information about deck techs and different archetypes and stuff. Their tier list we went through already with Tier 0, which are very fine-tuned decks that are extremely efficient and unfair. Then we got Tier 1, which are competitive decks that have a strong enough core to fight with Tier 0, but they can't quite get there unless you have extensive piloting knowledge. And then we also just finished with Tier 2, which are strong decks that are unfair at certain points. And examples there are Wind Lightning Ninjas, Ice Wind Une, Fire Wind Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, Mono Lightning Aranea, which that deck basically it's that you have a bunch of 2-drop hasters Aranea, and she just barfs them out when she comes into play. And then worst case scenario is you have damage 6, and you play her in like 3 forwards, and you just unga bunga your way through for damage.
Yeah.
And then Earth Lightning 15, where you play like 2-drop Noctis, and you free play Gladio for 2, and you go aggro that way. Mono Ice aggro is there. Ice Earth Land Toto, which is you play the Earth Flan with the Ice one that grabs it. So that way you can play Shantoto.
Yep.
Earth Wind Tilica combo, this one's kind of complicated. It involves Thief and Windrake, and you also play Tilica to make them cost 1 less. You pop both of them back up to your hand, your opponent mills 1, and then you use the 2-drop Monster Zoo to activate your backups. And then you also have Urianger come back in with one other Scion, which I believe would be Alphanod, and you're able to bring Zoo back, and you do this weird loop where you mill every single card in their deck with all of these activation of backups and Thief coming back to your hand. And then finally, it's Lightning and any other element Golbez.
Yeah.
So here we are. Tier 3. Tier 3 decks are weak, inconsistent, or average decks that typically have a clear weakness or are lists that are not optimized or refined. And these styles are currently not favored in the meta. To take wins off higher tier decks, you need an intimate understanding of the role of every card in the deck. These decks are rarely seen in top 8 and they rarely win tournaments. Now, I also just want to throw out a disclaimer. As with any tier lists, these are purely subjective.
Yeah.
So everyone's going to have a little bit thoughts on any other which way on what cards do or what cards are better than others. So what works here may not work over in the UK or may not work over in Japan or Australia, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah. Something else I would like to point out is that I really like the way that they said they didn't just like call the list bad per se. They said they might just be unoptimized, which means, as always, there might be something there that if someone explored it and made a proper list, it would make it like a really good deck that can compete at the top tier.
All right. So what we got here for tier 3 is Lightning Water Summoners. So the idea here is you play like the 2-drop Seymour, you play the Water Garnet. You, depending on how you want to go about it, you can play the starter Water Yuna to draw you cards. And from there, you also are able to like discard your Braska's Final Aeon, which you guarantee finding with Selkie.
Yeah.
Because it lets you find a fire card, or I believe it's a wind card or something else along those lines.
I think so.
Yeah, it's the lightning 3-drop Selkie. But the fact of the matter is one of them is fire. No, it's fire ice. That's what it is. And because Braska's your only fire card in the deck, it guarantees that you find Braska.
Yeah.
So you have these turns where you have 2 summoners, and then you just 10k something from nowhere.
That's neat.
Was it Klavat, the fire ice one?
Uh,
Because Selkie
Oh,
is
yeah,
yes.
wind and something else.
Yeah, because
remember.
Klavat's the fire one, and then Selkie's. I remember Selkie's it's water.
Selkie
That's
does
what it is.
wind, if I'm correct. I'll double check.
yeah.
So Icewind Chocobos, the reason that I think that this one is lower down now is because there's a lot of field wipe potential now, especially with like Phoenix, Valfor and Pandemonium, Genesis Avatar of Renoa and Ice. They're like each of the elements have some way, shape, or form of a big enough field wipe. They hit that 5k mark, which is enough to smoke out most Chocobos.
Yeah.
And even though it's able to generate the like once it hits Fat Chocobo and you're able to get those +2s and +3s, it's pretty great. But from what I've seen of trying to pilot the deck myself, is it whiffs
Sometimes,
on
yeah.
a somewhat basis,
Yeah.
and that's what makes it really difficult. Ice Water Realm category 6. So this deck plays the 2-drop Realm to top 5 into a monster.
Yeah.
And you also play it alongside Locke and Strago. I see this one having issues because the deck doesn't have teeth, and what I mean by that is that a lot of your forwards are like 5-7Ks,
Yeah.
so you're not going to be like winning in combat unless you're popping Tonberries.
Yeah, you're not amazing offensively,
Yep.
for sure.
I'm surprised Mono Wind Yuna Summons is in this list because the 3-drop Yuna, the issue that comes with like playing her is that like she comes in and you pay 5 and you're able to grab 6 different summons,
Yeah.
different costs and elements,
Yeah.
and they go to your hand. The issue then comes, how do I build this?
Yeah.
I think that's what makes this deck a tier 3.
For sure, because I think I've probably made at least 3 lists trying to play that card, and it's really hard because you have to think of like how to balance so you're always grabbing 5 cards.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're grabbing any less than 5, it's not really that worth it.
No.
No.
Like
Not at all.
you have to consistently be grabbing 4 or 5 cards for sure.
Yep.
Because any less, and you're only barely making your CP costs back. And like you want to be covering the entire cost of the card plus her ability, which is 5 cards.
I do like that the idea of doing it in a mono wind shell because of all the free activation that you get. So
For
that way
sure.
you have the backups to pay for any CP of Yuna.
Yeah.
What I think would be even spicier for this list also is that if you didn't have any lightning summons, but you played the 3-drop Thief that lets you grab a lightning card and you play Fusoyas.
Ooh, that would be interesting.
And then you play Charlotta, which can be found off Nordstallen.
Yep.
So you pop it for the lightning CP, and that way you're able to play the Fusoya.
I like that. And it produces 2 CPs, so that's cool. Yeah.
Then there's also a fan favorite of our friend Shane's is Mono Earth Monks, which is a Mono Earth aggro deck that throws down the Yang, gets the Ursula, and you do beat down with those guys while you build Monk back row. And then when you're done with the 2-drop one, you can either throw your excess Ursulas to do the damage off of Ursula, or when that one dies, you play the 4-drop one and you start trading your back row and your other resources to start hitting their other guys.
Yeah.
The issue with this deck is it is a very haymaker style deck. You get those 3 forwards and you just push,
Yeah.
hoping that gets you through.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
go ahead.
there's also not too many monk options for Ursula to build in as well. There's maybe like 3, and like 2 of them do the same. One's just better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we have some searching in Mono Earth also. I mean, yeah, you have Tyro and you have Kolka
Yep.
and some of the other ones, but Tyro does better when you're able to actually like toolbox other cards out. And
Especially because it taps for other colors. So it's like, why would you restrict yourself to only mono earth if you're going to play this card?
right. And then finally, we have Tier Meme. These are fun decks that revolve around a card or combo or playstyle. They have major weaknesses and should be more for the joy of the game than winning. Taking wins off higher tier decks requires a very intimate understanding of every card in the deck. They almost never see top 8. These decks, Earthwater Mira, there's the new Mira that came out from Opus 11, the 2-drop one, that lets you activate a FFCC character that's not a forward, and it becomes an 8K.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole point of the deck is that you turn your Pavlovs, and yeah, the 2-draw CP that he turns himself into a 9K.
Oh my
and
god!
You're able to also do it with back attack Carbuncle, and you have an
That's
AA
hilarious.
back attack blocker. It's so bad.
Pretty good, dude. That's the point of the meme.
God, that is actually a really good meme, though.
But here's the dangerous part, though, right? Is all we need is being able to have like FFCC backups that, like, when it's targeted for an effect, like, it gets an effect.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, being able to target it to activate it, it pops, and then when your opponent targets it with something, it pops again.
Yeah.
Getting, like, some kind of incremental advantage off it or something like that. The other thing that makes the deck work is that Mira lets you grab a copy of that card after it goes to your break zone.
Yeah,
so
so it
functional.
replaces, yeah.
Finally, there's the Bobby Corwin deck.
Bobby Corwin!
The whole
Corwin.
idea of the Bobby Corwin deck is that you essentially throw down Bobby after being able to find him with either Sid Haze. Well, Sid Haze can't find because he's not a standard unit. But you basically get Bobby down, and you attack with your Porums, your Black Waltzes, your Yazoos. You play all these suicide forwards. Like,
yep.
So, like, you don't freeze their guys, and you draw 2 cards because you did it.
Yeah.
And you also play Shock Trooper. So, like, when Shock Trooper breaks himself, you draw 2 cards.
Oh my god.
Nice.
That's funny.
So, for those that don't know, Shock Trooper is
It's the shitters dot deck.
Yeah.
He's a 4-drop forward that's an 8K that when he attacks, you choose him and another one of your opponents forward, and they both die.
Wait, that's actually a hilarious
And you
interaction.
draw 2 cards because
Oh
Bobby's
my-
still attacking.
Yeah.
So you break their forward.
You can do the same thing with the 4CP Kefka,
They
right?
run that too.
Oh my god, I love it.
And you know what's even goofier is that you attack with Arden and Bobby.
Oh, that's
my
pretty funny.
God.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna break Arden. Just kidding. Draw
Just-
2.
Nah, we good. We live in.
Yeah.
So that is my definition of a meme deck, right?
Yeah.
Oh, for
Is
sure.
That, like, it's this really dumb, goofy idea.
Yeah.
It shouldn't work.
I
but
hear
it does.
draw 4 every turn.
Yeah.
So, what would be a meme deck that you guys think should be tried? Because I got one. Are you ready to hear me out?
I'm interested.
All right. So there's a monster, right? Super dangerous monster. He's an FFCC, right? And it's in lightning. It's called Death Machine. So here's what Death.
Oh,
So first off, let's get the bad part out of the way, right? Death Machine. If there is no forwards on the board, he blows up, right? Why would I pay 5 CP for a monster that blows up? That's dumb. So at the beginning of your end phase, choose one of your opponent's forwards, break it.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. That doesn't seem so bad, right? So at the end of your opponent's turn, they get to choose forward, and they break it.
Yeah.
So what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to get to playing with Mira. So Mira can turn him into a forward,
Oh
and they
my-
can blow him up themselves.
That's funny. That's actually pretty hilarious. Yeah. And then
Okay,
if they
yeah.
blow it up, you get to search another copy. Oh my god.
Death Machine.
It's a literal death machine.
I am the machine.
I mean, if you really want to, and you want to get nowhere with the meme, but still have the meme, you just play shoot, what's the card on play that you just give to your opponent?
Oh, Leon?
Yeah, you just play Leons. And then you're like, blow up those Leons. I still get to keep my Death Machine.
There is a cool monster. I forget what the name is. I think it's a 4 CP Earth 8K that says activate for 2, and I think it says the next time it would die, it
Caldebra.
comes-
She's from Final Fantasy IV.
So if you really want to, you can activate the forward at the end of your turn, or at the end of your opponent's turn when they're about to choose a forward, and make it your only forward on board. So they have to choose it. It breaks and it comes back.
All right, so I goofed on Death Machine a little bit here. So his wording is that each turn at beginning main phase 1, if neither one of us controls forwards, he then goes to the break zone. At the end of my turn, I choose a forward and break it. At the end of your opponent's turn, you select your own forward that you control and then break it. So what you do is that you turn him into a forward, you break it yourself.
That's a lot better, yeah. So it's like, oh, I'll make it a forward, break it, and it comes back.
There's another copy, baby.
Yep. That's really cool. That is a funny meme.
So what'd you get, bud?
Oh man, it's like a hard choice because like I think it's probably like basically the puck list that I built for Noah is like it's a really cool meme deck because it's like, man, I get to 3 damage. This puck starts playing 2 cards from my discard pile every time I play.
That's pretty good.
Bounce the puck.
Yep, and then you bounce the puck with like
It's basically
Mione.
hockey.
So here's the meme I want to pull off with Puck, right? The odds of it ever happening is extremely small, but hear me out, right? So Puck comes in.
Yeah.
He grabs you a 1 and 2 drop, right?
Yep.
There's a 1-drop Vaughn that when he enters, as well as when he attacks, activates a backup.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
also a 2-drop Celeste, right? So Ghost, when a category 6 forward comes out, pay 2 ice, he comes out. Guess what? There's an Opus 10 card for 1-drop called Kites that if you play a Vaughn and you pay 2 win CP, he comes out. So you play a backup and you suddenly barf out 4 forwards.
Yeah. I had like kind of a similar idea, but I just didn't want to run the Ghost and the Kites because they're just like really small. And it's like most of my 2-drops are like either 7k on their own or they're 7k when I meet a certain condition, or they're 8ks or above.
All right. So what's your meme?
John built the Magic Pot Onion Knight, which I thought was really funny.
That is pretty funny. I think actually I take it back.
Top change.
Yeah,
My
it's
meme
just
deck is
a better one.
is Magic Pot with the new 5-drop water card that grabs you 2
Realm?
monsters. Yeah.
You just Magic Pot Realm.
Yep.
Yeah, Magic Pot Realm.
That is my like quintessential meme deck that I would
that's
want to
just
build.
Monster Realm,
Basically, but like it's a cool meme.
but like
I don't know how good it actually is, but it's a
Magic
cool
Pot
meme.
Onion Knight.
So with that tier list then, bringing it back around, is there anything on that list that should be higher or lower, do you guys think?
I think Wind Ice Chocobo should actually be a little higher. In my experience playing the deck, it feels like a lot of people are relying on the Chocobos to get them there when I don't think that's actually how you should be playing the deck.
Not at all.
You should be using Chocobos as a value engine more than anything, and if your opponent wastes removal on them instead of like your 7 CP Sephiroths or any of your other big threats, then that's them missing out on removal that they should have saved.
Fair.
So like I was playing a list that was running 7 CP Sephiroth and a bunch of other good ice cards, like stuff like Une, so I could cast the Wind Chocobo summon, because, fun fact, you can actually hit that card off of Fat Chocobo because it is a card named Chocobo.
Which card was that, bud?
The 2 CP Chocobo summon.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a hit.
Yep.
It is. Because it is
So,
card named Chocobo.
it's really cool when you're like, play Fat Chocobo, reveal the top act or top 5 and grab all these Chocobos, and you see the summon, and then you can play the summon to bounce a thing back to your hand and blink a thing with Une. And I also think that Chocobos have like a lot more resiliency now because they got I think it's a 3-drop that says when it dies, you
Find
you get to find one. So basically, you have this like shitter that just goes in, and if it dies, you don't care because you get like increasing returns off of it. You also can choose to go into the line of like playing Bobby Corwin. So when you party attack with stuff, you get free value if they block, and that's basically what the deck does. I don't think it should be that much higher. Maybe like a tier higher, or at the very
So, like
least
2.5.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
No? Thoughts?
I don't know for sure, because like I don't pay too much attention to tier lists. So I think everything's pretty much where it should be.
Fair.
I can see your point on the Chocobos, especially after getting my face slapped by the Chocobos, and then going, man, if only I played Blade Beam Cloud, and just wouldn't be an issue. But because then we can hit your Sephiroth. But nah. Yeah, I think everything's pretty much set. The only one I can't fully agree with yet is 6. And that's only because I haven't gotten my 6 deck built perfectly. But once I get there, don't worry, Zeth.
Okay, homie.
I'll believe it. I believe it deserves to be there. Don't worry.
Okay.
All the cards look
All
good.
you gotta do is believe.
I just gotta get there.
Okay. All right. I myself, I think that 15 Lightning Earth should be up a little bit higher. The main reason being is that Noctis is now getting at that point that when your deck is 43 cards 15, Noctis is like, what am I going to do? Because you throw Noctis out, you get a card, so he's a free forward, essentially.
Yeah.
And he's a 5k, so that's already pretty good. And then you throw out Seraphy, which is the old 2-drop forward for 6k for Waff that lets you that we both grab a forward from our break zone, and then it goes back to your hand. Well, guess what? It's turn 1. You don't have any forwards in your break zone yet.
Right.
So you build 2 free forwards, right? And then with that Earth one that you grabbed for Seraphy, toss it and you play Gladio, right? And then if you really want to go full ham, if you want the full taste of the meme sandwich, you go Glocka Ilwa Shoal.
Yeah.
And you just go in for 5 points of damage. What are they going to do? Block?
Right.
Yeah. That's funny.
But like to build that deck in a more like safe way, if you go into like Noctis Glocka and then Ilwa and just attack with Ilwa, that's still really good.
Yeah.
And then you play Seraphy after that to get Ilwa back to your hand. You are now threatening your opponent that if you do not stop my forwards next turn, I will kill you.
Yeah. Shoal's coming, buddy.
Yeah. And,
It's a ticking time bomb.
and the best part about it is that you're telegraphing it so hard that it gets so stuck in their head.
That's all they'll focus on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you start building backups, right?
Yeah.
Because you're already so ahead with your forwards. Just build back row after
Yeah.
that point. You're
When
good.
when your opponent thinks there's like, or when your opponent sees a very obvious line, they tend to only think about that line and they don't really diverge. And that's like, honestly, that's part of the like way I draw a line between a really good player and like a decent player is like, if you can see all the lines at once instead of tunneling on one, you're good. Like that's, I would consider you good at this game mechanically.
Nuts, dude. I guess I'm decent. Good enough.
Speaking of difference between decent to really good, let's talk about searching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Core concept of the
For
game,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
You know, your EX burst search, your ETB search, all this stuff heat you up, right?
Yeah.
You're always grabbing cards. We're talking about like soft costs and stuff like that. My recent experiences playing Mono Fire Control have actually taught me that there are instances I don't want to search.
Yeah.
Because remember, a lot of them do say May.
Yeah.
There's that May line. And for me, when I'm going against a deck that I'm recognizing that's going to be the long game, so when it's like Mono Fire that gets to 5 backups, or when it's a ice deck that's more focused on like Scale Toad and stuff like that, right? And in those matchups, or even like Rampier when we get to the long game, right? In those matchups, being able to decide, okay, what is the least amount of searches I can do to ensure that I'm able to still progress my game plan, but not run out of cards so much that I lose by deck out. Because when you're taking damage and you're searching, that's 2 cards lost. Because you got to grab a card out of your deck for your search, and there's one that you permanently have no access to anymore.
So at that point, you just knock a turn off of the 22 turns of a perfect game with no searching.
Yep. And that's why in Mono Fire, they play the Arc now. Because at first I thought to myself, like, why would I play this card in Mono Fire? It doesn't make any sense. It's an aggressive card. Until I realized it hits 2 cards.
Yep.
And if your opponent searches off those 2 cards, that's 4 cards out of the deck. You've effectively used Paul on them.
Yeah.
Right? On a much more durable body.
Yep.
Right?
Sadly,
So you
by
effectively hit 10% of their deck without really trying. And
Yeah.
so for me, when you're able to, because the first step is recognizing that it's going to turn into that kind of game, right? The earlier
For
you're
sure.
able to recognize it, the better chance that you're able to kind of pace out your resources and not completely gas out from it.
Yeah.
Because when you're at that point where you're at like 15 cards and you have searches that you have to do, I only have like 3 turns left because I've burnt through every card in my deck.
Yep.
So what are your guys' thoughts?
So my thoughts on this are,
I feel like the times where you don't want to search is like it's like a 5%. Like it's so
Super niche.
It's so very niche. But that being said, yet again, the way to distinguish a good player from a decent one is the good player knows how to react in the niche situations that come at them and knows how to see the niche situations that they're being put in. So like, for example, I was playing against Byron at LWG on Friday. Mm-hmm. Shout outs to him.
Traitor. No, just kidding.
I realized he was on Mono Fire Mill. I realized halfway through the game that I'm on Rampier. I can just sit here. I have 5 cards in hand. He has 3 cards in hand. He has nothing on board. I'm not forced to do anything until he plays something. So I can just sit here, and he's going to deck out faster than me because I have 1 damage to his 4 damage. And he has searched more times than I have.
Yep.
So I realize that, hey, I can just sit here and not search. And part of that situation is like, the caveat to it per se is you don't really have to start doing that because most of the time in matches like that, you're going to go to time before deck out becomes a thing. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, the only time you're actually going to deck out is if your opponent's actually playing dedicated mill stuff.
Right.
Because if you think about it, 7 damage is a less than a fifth of your deck or so. And it's very...
a little over 10%, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like the points where you have to worry about that is when your opponent isn't actually focusing on damaging you and focusing on your deck instead.
Yeah.
And I think that focusing on mill is a little weird in this game because it doesn't have like really good dedicated mill. Like if you think about like Magic, they have stuff like Archive Trap, which says mill 13.
Yep.
That is a very substantial amount of your deck.
Or Glimpse the Unthinkable that does it for 10.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like I could play this like mill package that mills you 1 or 2 when I do this specific thing, or I could just try to kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what like separates FF from like being a mill, because I do want to bring up the other asterisk that comes to this is that when the 2-drop Riku backup was a big deal, prior to its ban, it was, and like there's a lot of really good articles on FFTCG Crystarium.
Wasn't that a pay? How much did you pay?
You Doler,
Dole pay
and
1?
you pay 1 in Dole, and your opponent loses a card, and then she has a special mug, which is they lose 2 and you draw a card.
Yeah, so like she could potentially make you stop your draw altogether, or not stop a draw, but she mills what is equivalent to a draw, so that does just take an extra turn out of you.
Yeah.
Not mentioning any damage that's done as well.
Yeah. So like it also helps because you have the pain to activate her again.
Yeah,
So
you do it again.
It was that was actually a viable like strategy because the format was a lot slower than it is now, I'd say.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's also when they used Fanfrits to body block a lot of the time also, because you were able to get those opportunities to just body block with Fanfrit.
Yep.
And then just kind of feed into that. And then when Riku got banned, I've tried exploring the archetype like outside of Riku, and the only way to do it is the goofy Tilika combo that I told you guys about.
Yeah.
And there's like 4 or 5 pieces that are required with that. And all it takes is killing one of them, and the deck falls.
We tried it with Icewind, and it was basically Citra Val for 1-drop Thief Loop.
So
with Sid that drew all your 1-drops.
So speaking of Icewind, there's a Vaughn, right? That when he attacks, he lets you return a 2-cost backup back to your hand.
Yeah.
Replay Kate Sith.
Mm-hmm.
Don't play this deck. It's bad. It's really bad.
No, what do you mean? It's
straight
super
up,
good, dude.
But
I think so. While we're talking about Mill, the meme came in my head because he mentioned Paul as well. Belias or Goblin Paul. If they don't have anything, there's 5 gone.
Yeah.
Because that will give him haste.
no.
Yeah.
And then there's the 3-drop that says on damage Mill. What is it? 3 or 2?
Yeah.
Speaking of searchers, is there a...
So
Searching for a commercial, are we?
yes. So it's time to do a ad break for our wonderful sponsors, and we'll see you when we get back.
InkedGaming.com. Are you looking to get a custom playmat? Well, then we suggest you check out InkedGaming.com. They have custom playmats, dice bags, mouse pads, and so much more. They have recently added a stitch option to all of their playmats. That's what I get. And mouse pads as well. Inked Gaming lets you play your game with your style. If you want to get 10% off your entire order, please use the code TCG University, all caps, no spaces at checkout, to help support the channel by customizing your game to your style. Cards Custom Build. Are you into cosplay? Looking to get into cosplay? Do you want to show up to events dressed as your favorite character? Well, Cards Custom Build can help. Cards Custom Build creates everything from cosplay accessories like props, trinkets, or weaponry, all the way up to full costumes. Do you want to make a cosplay out of perfectly flowing cloth? Or maybe you want rigid battle armor? Cards Custom Build has you covered. Their work is guaranteed to make you the talk of the con. So go over to Cards Custom Build either on Facebook or on their Etsy account. Links will be in the description down below. And make sure you mention that TCG University sent you there, and you'll get 5% off of your entire order. And Dex Protection. Dex Protection is on a never-ending pursuit to create the highest quality storage and protection accessories. Their design and innovation comes from die-hard gamers and collectors just like you. So they know what you want in the products that you buy. They're constantly taking in feedback from their customers, and they have no plans on stopping their innovations or their drive to refine their products until they're recognized as a leader in their industry. They make terrific products, well, all with the avid gamer and collector in mind. So go ahead and check them out. A link will be in the description down below. And with that, let's get back to the show.
I got you.
Okay. So welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our wonderful sponsors. And what were you saying?
Yeah, so when it comes to searchers, right? What do you guys want out of your search? Like, if you had to pick a card that symbolizes what you want in a search, what do you want?
A Gabranth or Tyro.
Okay, explain.
So Gabranth and Tyro are both so versatile in that they grab any of your really strong late game pieces. Tyro grabs anything, and the versatility to grab any forward is really good. So that's how I feel. How about you, Noah?
I mean, it depends on the situation, obviously. But if you're going for a generically solid search that grabs you anything you want, Thornton's pretty good.
Okay.
I mean, it is pay, what, 5?
It's also an EX burst, so I can see that.
And worst case scenario, if they break it, you draw a card.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is true.
Just due to the nature of the decks I play, Barrett's always been really good. Because you see just about any card you're looking for. Rufus will grab your Turks for anything that can really help you grab your key pieces for your deck as early as possible. I think is fine.
Yeah.
All right. So my favorite search piece is the 3-drop Rydia. It is an Earth backup for 3 that lets you hit any summon that you want.
Cockatrice.
Yeah. It grabs your Cockatrice, or it grabs your Hecaton Chair, or in cases that Rydia has saved my life, is that she's grabbed Belias.
Yep.
Yeah.
There has been more than one game that I can count that Rydia has come down, and I've never been disappointed.
Yeah.
And even if she gets hit into damage, I mean, it's okay, because when you run redundancy with Moody, which lets you grab a fire summon, they both grab you the same idea anyway.
Yeah.
And I prefer grabbing summons as opposed to forwards, because summons you can pop out at any point in time.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas the forwards that you're already kind of semi-telegraphing what you're doing. Whereas if I show you the summon I'm grabbing, you are unaware as to what point in time I'm going to be popping that summon.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just more versatility. Anyways, I'd like to get to our last topic here, which is we are trying to sell each other on bad cards or cards that people think are bad, but we personally think are really good.
We think are good. I don't think it was really good, just solid.
Well, I think
cards.
mine's really good. So
All right, we'll find whatever. That's fine.
Would you like to start us off then?
So I'll start us off. 5 CP Vayne.
No!
5 CP Vayne
No!
is my favorite card
Can we get a picture of that up here by any chance?
No.
to put in.
You don't want to look at him. He's that bad.
So 5 CP Vayne
I will
says.
die on this hill.
I will die on this hill.
That's fine, Zed.
Go ahead, sell me. You know what? I'm a hard sell.
All right. So 5 CP Vayne. It's not only searchable by any of the Category 6 stuff, correct? He is also a 5 CP bomb that your opponent is forced to
bud.
deal with. Oh, sure.
Sorry, bud.
Yeah, you're good. You can just search it with any of the pieces that search that specific category, which I'm sure they have a few. You can play it, and it's something that your opponent is mandatorily forced to deal with, or they cannot play forwards lest they be drained all of their resources.
Are you talking about? Oh yeah,
the
legend?
5-drop legendary Vayne.
Yeah.
Or
Is this the correct one?
that is Vaughn. Vayne
it's-
is Vayne.
Yep. Thank you. Sorry.
Yep. He is a ice 5-drop.
Yep.
And he's in a really dorky pose where he's holding his body like this. Like
Yeah.
he thinks he's so majestic, and
I
he's
mean,
not.
Yeah.
He's discount Sephiroth.
He
With
is
that kind of
Wind
pose.
blows on him, and he falls to the break zone like the old man that he is.
Fair.
Ifrit lights him on fire, and he does a big old spin, and then he dusts himself to the break zone.
So that's not necessarily true, because the only Ifrit that actually kills him is the 4 CP Ifrit if they hit it on EX Burst and they have Phoenix.
They play Terra.
So they have
They
to
play Terra. They
Either
play
that-
Vermilion Lassie. The Fire has a wide variety of options
They
to
just play
just
3
smoke
dudes
him
on
off
wall
So-
and go
board.
swing, swing, swing.
So Vermilion doesn't actually do it because
She grabs Ifrit.
well, she grabs Ifrit, but none of the Ifrits actually kill it except for the 3-drop one with Vermilion. So you have to grab that, or you have to grab the one that says pitch another Ifrit to deal 10k, which that's fine. They pitch 2 cards to deal with my Vayne. That's a-okay with me. It's also fine to have a card that's like weak in one very specific matchup because Mono Fire doesn't really play many forwards anyways. This is more for your Rampier matchups, stuff like that, because Kane's not killing this card. He deals 8k and
And then
it just sits
Fusoya
there.
follows him up right behind it. He's like, I got your back, homie.
So
Zap, zap.
I mean, if
I can't whiff on one.
if they're spending 10 CP in a backup to kill my 5-drop Vayne, that's fine.
I mean, in all fairness, I think just about every time you played this card on me, I've always killed it immediately after.
Yeah, you've
Usually-
been forced to.
Usually my deck is suited to do it quite easily by just playing the deck out. Like Turks, for instance, will just pop Rufus and deal 5, and then I like Ramu and the rest of it's gone.
Yeah, but that's fine. You killed 2 forwards in order to kill my 1.
I mean, I killed
All right.
I killed 1 forward because
And-
I popped Rufus, got another one for free, and then cast Ramu to deal with that.
And-
Meaning I only actually ever had to pay the 4
All right.
CP.
So let's go to the verdict then. Have you been convinced?
I mean, I'd say Vayne's okay. I don't think he's something you want to crutch on.
I mean, you shouldn't be crutching on a 1-of anyways, but yes.
I mean, yeah.
That was my point.
I don't think
is-
you want to make a deck specifically around this card ever.
Well,
No.
yeah.
That's my whole thing.
That I never said you should. I think that he is one of the better 1-ofs in the game,
Okay,
in my
fair enough.
personal opinion, just because of all the stuff that he does for you. Especially because later game, when people are on top decks, he's one of the cards that I will always love to draw because he says my opponent's top decks are always going to be worse than mine. Because A, they either have to remove this, or when they play a forward to try and contest board, they have to pay extra, which means they're getting taxed in the late game, and taxing people in the late game is really good.
I'm sorry. I'm still not convinced. Sorry, not sorry.
That's
He's
fine.
dying on that hill if he has to die on the hill.
That's fine.
I
Because
will go to the break zone for this.
I have played so many matches where me windmill slamming a Vayne has just single-handedly won me the game. Like, there was a match that I played against Mono Wind Chocobos when Shane was piloting it, I believe. I was on Rampier. He had like 4 forwards on like turn 2. I slammed Vayne and he just lost.
Well, yeah, because Chocobos also just, especially Mono Wind Chocobos, does not have a response to that. in all
Exactly.
fairness.
Well, you dog, what's your card? What you got?
King of Evelyn.
Now this one,
So,
I don't know how you're defending
I'm only
this one.
attempting to convince you that the card is good.
I
Not
was-
terrific, not fair or unbalanced, just good.
I will say though, there was a blog called Level 1 Onion Knight. He ran a tournament where you had to run him and his counterpart. And the
Yeah,
rest of
king
your
and
deck
queen.
was-
Technically,
Yup.
mine is king and queen.
Right.
Because now it's terrible on curve that you have to pay 5 for a 7k, but he does get you a 3-drop 7K that says when you swing with them both, you hit something for 5. Or, at worst, you're playing 2 dudes for 5. Instead of paying 6 to play 2 dudes with Vaughn.
Still better than Vayne.
I'm down. I'll take it.
It gets you 2 guys.
It gets you 2 guys on board that says that they can ping something for 5 together.
Okay.
At worst, 2 7K swingers.
Okay. So let me dismantle you a little bit here, Noah. So this card is absolutely awful. A, because it relies on another card to even do anything. It has it has a blank text box if you don't have the queen.
No. Queen has a blank text box if you don't have the king.
Sure. So the 3-drop that you played off of this card is now a vanilla if it somehow dies as a 7K in our current format.
It's fine.
That's garbage.
Dude, it's fake targets.
It's
easy. I paid 5 for 8 CP worth of dudes, and now I just sit on these fake targets and don't have to worry about them.
You know what? You know what card absolutely dunks on this? 5 CP Vayne. They can't even kill it. It's a 5K ping. Just saying.
They party attack and swing though, and he's already halfway there.
I mean that's
And
fine.
then you just ifrit the rest of it.
I'm
sorry, man.
I will eat it.
Man.
For putting this out, and then you want to windmill slap the vein
So,
down. I just pay 3 and get
You know
rid
what,
of your
guys?
ifrit.
I almost want to challenge the 3 of us that we take our bad cards and we build decks
Don't
with
make
the
me do
focus
this.
on these cards and
Yeah.
we face off against each other. I'm throwing the glove down on this.
All right, so
I'm tempted. I can
real quick.
Fire
I'm gonna have you be real fast about it. Real
Okay.
fast, like what is your card?
My card? All right, so I'm going to take you to the time of Opus 2, right?
Uh-huh.
There's a 4-drop 9K. So even before Kadaj, right? He was doing it before Kadaj was cool. His name's Rubicante.
Oh my
So
god.
here's what he does, right?
I see what he's talking about.
Rubicante. So first off, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get the bad text out of the way, right? When he attacks, he activates all your opponent's forwards, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for blocking.
But however, he has a special called Barrier Shift, which if you pay a red CP and you discard a copy of him, choose an element. He cannot be targeted by elements or abilities of that element. Yeah. So in addition to this, so not only was he Kadaj before he was cool, right?
So he's a lamer version of Hein?
Yeah. He's a Ghetto Hein. Absolutely. No, I'll say
take
it.
that.
I'll
Ghetto
own up to
Hein
it.
sounds good.
Then
Yeah.
I want you to look right below him. There's a 6-drop Rubicante, right? So he already has synergy with himself. So you already can run 6 copies of him and be able to pop Barrier Shift and have your Ghetto Hein, right?
Mm-hmm.
In addition to this, is that if your opponent has no forwards, there is no downside.
Yeah.
You have a 9K that can go in, and here's the best part and why I would play him in Mono Fire.
Rubicante.
Because guess what? He is your on-color Hein that you can ditch for CP if you absolutely don't need him.
Mm-hmm.
And for a 4 CP, he can sit on his hands and be like, guess what? I can stand on the shoulders right next to Hein and Kadaj, and you got to deal with all 3 of us.
Yeah.
You're the 4 CP 9K Giants, and you can't handle me.
Yeah.
Oh, you targeted me? Barrier Shift.
Yeah.
I
He,
flipped the cape.
he just whips the cape
Yeah.
around. And it's like, nah, your fire does nothing.
He's like, oogity boogity boo, and
Yeah.
then nothing happens.
Yeah. So
You actually sold me on this only because of the simple fact that he's also a 9K, so you're just daring your opponent to block him?
well, so you sold me on this simply because I think Mono Fire is actually a good deck, and I think this card's actually not bad in Mono Fire.
Oh, but King and Queen just don't work in Mono Fire.
Yeah, King and
Go
Queen
away.
are awful. Actually garbage.
On swing ping 5 seems pretty good.
Don't listen to this.
The other-
For 14,
So
come
the
on.
other reason I like this Rubicante setup also is that his 6-drop version, when you have 4 backups, he costs the same amount, and he's still a 9K.
Yeah.
And when that one gets blocked, he does 5. But there's that convenient text right below him that's special, so you just discard a copy of Rubicante, right?
Yep.
So he gets 2K power, and he deals 4K damage to a forward. That's a magic 9K number, baby.
Yep.
And I only had to discard a forward to do it,
Yep.
and he's an 11K then.
Yeah.
Busted.
We're playing Fire. Lava Spider's in there, too.
All right. So
Lava Spider's the good card, am I right, guys? No. Come on. Lava Spider FF7?
Well, although Mira turning Lava Spider into an 11K for one's really cheeky.
that is pretty funny.
And then if you play the 5-cost realm and grab Lava Spider and then grab like Bomb or something like that,
yeah.
There you go.
That's neat.
We got it.
All right. Anyways, that was our podcast for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed all of our sweet content, and sayonara.
So
Bye,
sweet.
homies.
Just like ice cream. Yeah, I'm leaving it on that.